Today I'm going to show you how I part triangle parts. The style I'm going to be doing soft locks, but this video is strictly on parting. I will be posting another video pretty soon on how I install soft locks, but today we're just focused on triangle parting, and I'm going to show you guys some tips and tricks to get your parts sharp and crisp. So I told you I was doing soft locks. In the back of her hair was really short, so I had to use rubber bands to I use rubber bands to, I guess, contain the hair as opposed to braiding it or plaiting it. That's the only reason why I use rubber bands, just for the parts that were too short to braid. So I'm sectioning her hair, I guess how you would similarly for regular box parts or regular square parts. I'm just getting, like, I guess, similar horizontal sections, and then I'm parting triangles from there. How I get my parts crisp, as you can see, I put product along the part, and then I repart it to, I guess, to just get all the hairs where they're supposed to be and kind of slick them down a little bit. And I said product. The two products I use are Shining Jam and Edge Booster. And for parting purposes, I prefer to use the Shining Jam just because it's more lightweight and it doesn't leave the hair cakey. So I'm comfortable using a large amount to get my parts the way I want them. As opposed to the Edge Booster, it's a little bit thicker, so it kind of leaves the hair cakey, if that makes sense. But back to these parts. So the first part, I like it to be opposite. Well, it should be opposite of the first part of the last row. So with that being said, if the first line to your triangle is going at an angle to the right, the first line of the next row triangle needs to be going at an angle to the left, just so it can have that stacked effect. As a beginner, if you're a beginner, I would suggest you go tip to tip. By tip to tip, I mean each part should meet with another part. The back of mine, when I do foundation for the braids, or when I do foundation for soft locks, or my foundation braids for any style really, I do my tips. The first two rows are always going to be tip to tip. Once it gets a little higher, I don't do tip to tip, just because, like I said, that's a beginner friendly method, and I'm not really a beginner. But and the only downfall of that is once you get higher on your client, or higher on your mannequin, or higher on your head, whatever you're doing, once you get like towards the crown, if you're continuously going tip to tip, the parts will be bigger. Your triangles will start to grow and get bigger, and I don't really want that. So I just keep my triangles proportionate, and by doing that, I don't go tip to tip, and my parts are still crisp and they still look like defined triangles. So I'm going off the very front part of this horizontal section, and I'm trying to make sure it's even to the back parts, the back horizontal sections. The middle may look a little bit bigger, and that's just so I can make sure that the front looks as similar as possible. And in the beginning, I just do a rough part, then I go back through and clean it up. All right, now we're at the top. For some reason, this used to be the most trickiest part to me. I don't know why, but this part will make or break your triangles. I say, remember how we were doing horizontal sections? Now we're doing vertical sections. So I say section all those sections off first. It usually is, depending on your triangle size, I say about 3 to 4 rows. Go ahead and section those off first, so you can make sure there's straight and similar and all that good stuff, and then proceed with parting your triangles from there. here. Now, here's a little saying I like to live by as a braider. When in doubt, split it in half. Because it's always better to make it, you would rather your parts be too small than too big. Like, you know, you want everything symmetrical, of course. But if you have to, there's a better chance that it'll look right if you part it smaller than the other parts, as opposed to having one big giant part. Like, no, that's not okay. People are going to be mad at you. Don't do that. So I was a little indecisive at this part, but I split it in half and boom, there we go. Looks perfect. I love it. And here's a good example here of how my parts are not point to point, but they still look good and they still look crisp and sharp. So yeah, this is what I was talking about, and this is really the area that I was talking about as well. All right, and we're done. So here's an overall view of the triangles we achieved today, and here's the full style we achieved. This was 18-inch soft locks. Again, I'm going to post a video on how I do my soft locks pretty soon, so be sure you like and subscribe. Comment down below any style you'd like to see from me.